Hello, and welcome to another movie update video. This is the future plans of Fatal Encounter Reticent. Now, throughout my journey in the indie filmmaking world, I've already created 3 different feature plan videos, which was where I would discuss my ideas for an upcoming movie I would have. Starting with the first Fatal Encounter back in 2015, to Fatal Encounter Rise and Fight back in 2018, and in Fatal Encounter Emergence of Talents, which I talked about as early as 2019. So before I ever get like a big film production off the ground, I sort of like to discuss what the film is about, what my intentions are for it, and where do I plan on going forward with pre-production, production, and even post-production sometimes. So hello and welcome. My name is Patreck Farley, and today let's discuss Fatal Encounter Reticent. Fatal Encounter Reticent is the 4th movie in the Fatal Encounter franchise. Spoiler warning, at the end of Fatal Encounter Emergence of Talents, we see Rich and Fennec part ways, due to the differences they have in regards to humanity. Fatal Encounter Reticent will be taking place within 1 to 3 years after Fatal Encounter Emergence of Talents, in the years of 2022 to the year 2024. This movie is going to be going over Fennec's story after the events of Fatal Encounter Emergence of Talents. If you have yet to see that movie, I would highly recommend giving it a watch before deep diving into Fatal Encounter Reticent and what it is all about. So far, pre-production has been more smooth and steady than any film I've ever done before. Maybe it is because I have a lot more experience under my belt, I have a lot more equipment, more computer quality and software assets, and more skills than I've ever had before. And because of this, it's made the journey a lot more smooth, but it's not without its own challenges. In Fatal Encounter Reticent, I plan on having a large cast of characters. More characters than you've seen in every Fatal Encounter movie that has come before. And because of this, it has its own set of challenges with character wardrobe, motivation, arcs, and relationships to one another that I needed even more help to dive into. Aaron Maines helped me with the story this time around instead of my friend Richard Blake Heyer. But don't worry, he'll be in Fatal Encounter Lazarus. That will take place around the same time as Reticent, but we'll be discussing that one in a completely different video. And heck, maybe I'll throw Blake in front of the camera to do so for me. So in Fatal Encounter Reticent, I really plan on going bigger and harder than I ever have before, without repeating the same story act structure and past events from the last 3 movies. Fennec is more seasoned and grown and more matured than he's ever had before. He's getting older. He wants more of a normal type of life. And so he decides to pursue a martial arts school and his mastery in the martial arts. But of course, after events of the last movie, he is unable to have a completely normal life. The United States government forces him to be a secret agent under the security of division. And because of that, he has to sort of do his own thing to take care of things within the United States. Now, we see Fennec have more enemies than he has before. Without going into too much story details or spoilers, last time around there was only a couple really big bad guys that Fennec and his friends had to take care of. In Reticent, there are 3 really big bad guys that he has to take care of this time. Sort of inspired by the Spider-Man universe and comics and video games and movies that I've grown to love, but without overdoing it to where it becomes oversaturated with so many bad guys and villains. And because of this, I want to sort of take this into a new journey. This is a new arc in the Fatal Encounter series, whereas the Emergence of Talents was its own story conclusion to the 3 movies that it has been about. This is taking the Fatal Encounter universe and characters between Reticent and Lazarus into its own new narrative. And that's something that's going to be really exciting to explore between now and whenever we do eventually get all these movies finished. But unlike the last trilogy, where it was 3 movies, this one is going to only be 2 movies and 1 web series, which will take as long as it needs to be because I'm not willing to sacrifice quality and story ideas in order to rush out a story and movie that is unfinished, unpolished. So, in order to get into that big final fifth movie of the entire story, no, there ain't going to be 10, there ain't going to be 8, there ain't going to be 20. I want to end it at 5. And in order to get to that big fifth movie way down the road, the fourth one and Lazarus for the web series has to be standalone and has to be really good. So, there is a power vacuum after Emergence of Talents. And we get to see Vala's character come back. We get to learn more about her backstory. She takes over the organization but brands it as a whole new company and is currently off the radar by our heroes. And we get to see these kind of forces come together and figure out what both sides want. And then we even have more development within the space between worlds. We have more development between this new organization and also what's going on with our heroes. I don't want to get too much into the story details, but we're basically slated for production this June, and I can't wait to begin filming. We're going to be flying in Braden D. White, who is a third-degree black belt and martial artist. He's been a good friend of mine, and he has his own company, TKO Productions, that we're partnering with through this movie. He's going to fly down with Renee Barr, and those two are going to help bring a couple characters to life. Aaron Maines is going to be returning as Vala in order to be our new villainess. Very exciting. I'm going to have also other characters and actors up and coming. And you'll see a lot of these characters come to life on screen. Thankfully, half of the cast is local and the other half is out of state. So during the week of June, we're going to be bringing both casts of characters together and, well, actors and actresses, of course. And we're going to be filming about 50% of the movie this summer. Any sort of days that we don't quite get, we'll be picking up between July and September before it gets too late into the end of the year. And hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have the entire movie through production before 2025 wraps up. And that'll give us plenty of time to go into post-production, and hopefully it's not the same kind of problems I had in the last movie. If you remember with the Emergence of Talents, in my update videos, I discussed that my computer crashed and broke, the motherboard fried, and it took me a whole month and a half at least to build a new computer and to get things going. And then just to top it off, I wasn't able to take my Sony Vegas project files into DaVinci Resolve Studio. And so I had to start from scratch, take what I had, and bring it over to the new software, and had to edit things all over. Thankfully, since it was picture locked, I just used a rough cut from the movie and I went from there, and I had all the help I needed in post-production. But that severely delayed a lot of things. I know my personal life has been busy. I like to do more than just make movies and films, and I appreciate your guys' patience with how long it does take for some of these things. At the time I've recorded this video, I still have Emergence of Talents getting ready for Blu-rays and distribution, and it's taken me longer than I expected, but I feel like it's going to be worth it once it is released on more platforms. If you're eager to see it sooner than later, please go to our Vimeo page at fatalencountermovies.com, or you can go to iNation Network, also known as IndieNationNetwork.com, in order to find and preview our movie there. If those two sites aren't up to your standards or something you want to do, there's going to be more sites down the road I'll be streaming on. I just don't have an exact date or time for what that's going to be. Hopefully, because I've learned a lot from the last movie, Fatal Encounter Reticent will get through post-production more quickly and will get on the streaming platforms even more faster than the movie beforehand. Anywho, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I can't wait to hear from you guys and show you more about what's coming in the Fatal Encounter universe. Thank you for your time. My name is Patreck Farley, and I'll be signing off. Have a good day. Alright, we are essentially done getting the green screen photos for Fennec for Fatal Encounter Reticent, and they look amazing. It's such a drastic difference, even though it's similar to how he looked in Fatal Encounter Emergence of Talents. One of my favorite parts is having the knives holstered to the legs, whereas before they would kind of flop around every time I'd be throwing kicks and things like that. You don't really notice it too much in the movie, but for like an actor like me, I like having things more strapped down so I have more control and I don't have stuff flopping around essentially. And we got a lot of cool, more creative poses and stuff like that too, which I'm really happy about. This is probably the last time we see Fennec looking this way. If I was ever to do another one for, way down the line, he would definitely be more tacked out, and that's all I could really say for that. But anywho, I'm really happy to be in character again and just making more movies. That's a lot of fun. Thanks for sticking around and watching.